Friday, July 1st, 2016. This right here has got to be the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me. And it might sound crazy, but believe me when I tell you, it's the truth. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm an honest person. And they know that I tell the truth. And I've been punched in the mouth enough times to know that the truth hurts. And I just want to tell my kids, they're not my real kids, but they know who they are, that I love them, and they know I've always told them the truth, no matter how bad it hurt. And I didn't just wake up and start deciding to be a liar. And you know I don't need no attention, so you need to listen up. This is important. Another thing before I get started, I got some background videos about what concerning what I'm about to say today. So I do have some evidence to back some of this stuff up that I'm trying to tell you. This isn't just some work of fiction. This is just so crazy to me that I never in a million years thought that I would be telling somebody a story like this. This is like something out of the movies, but I made a promise. I made a promise to God that if He helped me through this madness, that I would tell my story. So I'm here. I'm here today to do just that. As a child, I was born into the church. I was baptized as a baby. I was raised a Roman Catholic, went to Catholic school. First communion, confirmation, confession, the whole 9 yards. Now, even as a kid, I could see the truth better than most, I guess, because I learned to question everything. I've always been skeptical, and I never believed what somebody just offered up to me as fact because one person said so. So, I never believed in religion, even though all my Catholic school teaching and Bible study and all this stuff, I started to believe in the Bible, and I've always had a strong belief in God, but I never believed in religion. Even as a child, I could see that it was a control tactic. And to me, it just never made sense that they had all these different religions telling all these different things and all these preachers asking for money. It just never made no sense to me. So I never really believed in all that organization of religion. And I'm glad I didn't, because the stuff I got here today is traumatic. So, as a young child, I used to have terrible nightmares. I used to have sleep paralysis, where you awake and it's like you're dreaming, but you're not. And you can't move your body, and you can't speak. And I would wake up terrified, and I would try to scream and yell out, but no words would ever come out of your mouth. And then you'd just be laying there frozen, and like you could feel like a wind blowing around, a cold wind, or it was just weird. It was weird, you know. And I used to have these terrible nightmares I used to wake up in cold sweats, and I'm talking about when I'm 6, 7, 8 years old. I used to wake up in cold sweats, terrified, screaming, sometimes crying because of the intensity of these dreams. And I can still remember some of them today. A lot of them were about war, and I seen people getting their heads blown off and dramatic things. And then my parents told me, I used to sleepwalk. And Sometimes, like, I'd fall asleep in the living room or something, and I used to wake up right out of my sleep and look at one of my parents and start talking to them, saying outrageous things that had no meaning to them, but and I would lay right back down, close my eyes and go to sleep, and I would never have a memory of this. And as time went by, these things faded, and I haven't learned till recently what is really going on. 30-something years later, now I see what was really happening to me as a child. And I've witnessed these things happen to other people as well, and I'm gonna get to that. So what I've come to learn is that we have this gland in our head, this pineal gland. They call it the third eye, and they say that this is your, well, I don't know, this is your communication to the spirit world. It enables you to see the unseen, to experience things. Well, this is all stuff I've learned recently through experience, so just listen. But the reason why that these experiences stopped happening to me, and I truly believe this, is because the powers that be don't want us. They are followers of the Dark Lord. They have sold their soul for material possessions in this world, and they don't want us to know the truth. They don't want us to know that God is real, and that demons are real, and that this whole other spiritual life exists. Because with that knowledge hidden from us, we are so much more easy to manipulate. That's why they're pushing God out of existence. They've taken it out of the schools. They're trying to push God as far from the human mind as possible. And you can see the direct result of that in society today. Things are getting worse and worse. Everything's spiraling out of control as God is pushed further from the minds of the people. So, anyway, back to the story. So, as I grew up, these things faded away. I come to find out that it is because they put sodium fluoride in the water, and there's sodium fluoride in your toothpaste, and all these weird chemicals and preservatives and all this processed food and stuff. I know I talk a lot about that, but it is crucially important. They are manipulating your brain function to hide the truth from you, to make you passive little sheep. Bah. Yeah, so you follow blindlessly everything that they program into you with this TV programming. Do you understand? They tell you what it is, but yet you still fall victim to it. They are cunning and smart. So over the years, these events faded away. The dreams, the paralysis, all this stuff, the sleepwalking and talking in my sleep and all that stuff faded away. And if you've been listening to me, you know my environment was corrupt, and it started it traumatized me. And I started drinking, smoking weed, doing drugs, pills to numb the pain. Well, it also numbed my brain from the reality, from the real reality. Even worse than just the normal stuff that's hiding it from us every day. So I grew up rough, and from my youth, through all the religion, I told you I could see through it, but in that Bible, I always believed in the Ten Commandments. And I tried to live my life by that code. If I had nothing else, I always thought of those rules before I did something, or when I was tempted, or when things just presented themselves in everyday life. I always thought about those rules all the way out through my life. And I've always prayed to God in my head to help me with decisions, and I've thanked Him for my blessings, and I've always asked Him for help. I never lost my faith. I lost my faith in humanity at some point. I'm starting to get it back a little bit, but I never lost my faith in God. I wasn't a all the time worshiper or had Him in the forefront of my mind all the time, but when things happen, good or bad, I always thanked Him or asked Him for His guidance when I needed help, and begged Him for mercy when I felt like giving up. So I'm still here, but so man, this is crazy. So throughout my life, I've had many ups and downs, and I've never really had too much faith in the laws of man. So as I got older and the corruption got worse, I started carrying a pistol when I was 14 years old. I ain't never killed nobody, but it was a lot of people around me dying. And I tell you right now, I didn't want to be one of them. See, the police, they want you to put your faith in the police, but the police, all they do is come and clean up the mess. Well, I'm not going to be the mess. Let me tell you something. So, as I got older and bolder, I started confronting people. Anytime that they tried to do something foul to me, I'm not going for it. I'm not letting it happen. You try to hurt me, you try to hurt my loved ones. Well, I ended up in prison. And I'm no criminal by any means. I had businesses, property, houses, rental properties, all kinds of stuff. But I took this so-called law, man-made law, and I didn't know. I didn't know the rules of the game. So I ended up in prison for lack of knowledge, because I could have did the same things that ended me up in prison and made a phone call to the police and got out of the whole thing. But because I didn't, they labeled me a criminal. Well, whatever. So they stripped years of my life away for defending myself. But that's a story for another day. So, I'm in prison. They got this movie channel, and I gotta say that I made the best out of prison, because it really gave me time to sit back and think about what I was doing and what was important in my life. And I realized that money isn't important. It's the people and the things around you that mean something. So while I was in prison, they had this movie channel, and they play a movie every 3 hours. So most movies ain't 3 hours long. So in between movies, they would have like this relaxation music playing, this meditation music. So I used to put my headphones in and just listen to this meditation music and lay in my bed by myself, stay away from all the craziness around me, and I would pray, and I would meditate, and I would think. So I was in there doing this for 3 years, and while I was in there, I was cleaning out my system. I quit smoking cigarettes for the most part. I wasn't, I was eating healthy as I could, and drinking water and tea every day, and got off of sugar, no sugar whatsoever, and I cleansed my body. And I started thinking really clear. And I started having those nightmares again. I started I started having dreams. I ain't had dreams in 20 years, 15, 20 years. So I didn't really think anything about it. And I started reading the Bible more and more when I was in there. And I've always been looking for the answers of life, what's really going on out here. So when I got out of prison, you know, I liked that routine of being healthy and eating the right foods and exercise and got my body back in shape. And so when I got home, I didn't even know anything really about none of this technology. I'd never been on YouTube or nothing. Now this was last year that I got home, so I start watching this YouTube stuff, and I see they got all this music and all this stuff on here. So I decide to see if I could find some relaxation music, some meditation music, right? So I find these meditation videos or whatever, and I would listen to them, and I would pray, and I would just clear my head and try to think about stuff. Well, I came across this video. They got these frequencies or whatever, and this thing starts talking about this pineal gland and open your third eye, and you can open your third eye in 5 minutes, and you can see spirits, and you can heal your DNA. And I was reading about 12-stranded DNA and how we only use a fraction of our DNA and all this stuff. So it kind of interests me. So I started checking out this stuff about this DNA activation or whatever. Well, this is all bull crap. Before I get started, I just want to tell you something. I figured out what it is, but the crap that they're telling you on there is not the truth. So I started listening to these frequencies or whatever, and they tell you that you're gonna feel a certain way. You might feel like you got the flu, and that's your DNA activating, and they tell you all this ascension crap. Well, I find out it's this New Age religion. Well, I never even heard of the New Age religion. You know what I'm saying? I'm deep rooted in reality and my problems and trying to get my life together. I never even heard of this New Age religion. So I'm like, man, what is this? Has got to be some bull crap. And I'm a skeptical person, so I start checking this stuff out. So I see this thing that says you can open your third eye and all this, and I never even heard of the pineal gland. I've seen some stuff a long time ago in my studies of ancient civilizations, with these depictions of people with the third eye, and the Buddhists or whatever, the Hindus or whatever, and they meditate or whatever. So I never really thought nothing about it, because I meditate and pray to God. Well, I told you before, if you listen to my videos, I've always been fascinated with this stuff and these ancient cultures and aliens and all this stuff, because that's what they want you to believe. And they're good at it, let me tell you. They manipulate you, they're good at it. But so let me check this video out. So I listened to this little frequency video, and I'm listening to this thing for 10 or 15 minutes, and I start feeling this pressure like in my head, and then all of a sudden something popped. I heard a popping sound in my head, and I was like, whoa, it freaked me out. So I took off my headphones, and I'm sitting there like, what just happened? You know what I'm saying? What just happened was amazing. Now, I told you what happened to me as a kid, and I told you all that stuff went away when with all this food and pop and soda and all this drugs and alcohol and all this stuff, and I quit dreaming and all that stuff. And I told you, now as I start dreaming again, as I start cleaning my system out, well, now this pop happened in my head, and after that I could start seeing stuff, seeing stuff that you just wouldn't believe. And I start having these dreams again, and the sleep paralysis kick back in, and these these terrible, vivid dreams of it's like being in another world started happening. Well, now I only did this stuff. All this took place over maybe a 2 or 3 week period. So I keep I keep listening to these meditation videos and I'm praying, but I'm praying to God though. But you know, my faith was hindering, and then this whole New Age religion, they start talking about all these how these alien civilizations are the ones that wrote the Bible, and that they're coming back to they're the revelation of the Bible, and that they're going to come back, and that there's actual beings in their civilization named Jesus, and these archangels, and all these different things that all tie into this story of that dude who supposedly deciphered the Sumerian tablets. Man, I can't think of his name, but Zacharias Stitchin or Sitchin or whatever. Supposedly he's deciphered these Sumerian tablets, right? So this whole New Age religion is kind of based on that. And they're saying that these are ancient aliens, and all this crap. Well, this stuff gets crazier, boy. It gets crazier. So as I'm listening to these things and I start, watching these other videos on YouTube about all this stuff, I start getting all these thoughts in my head, like just weird thoughts, and it's like flooding, like my brain was just on overdrive, and all this information is just flooding in, and I'm like, man, where is all this coming from? I'm like, man, this DNA thing must really work or something. Like my brain just turned all the way on, you know what I'm saying? Wrong. Listen, what I come to find out, oh my goodness, wait a minute, let me get back to this. So all this stuff is telling me, is coming to me, right? All this information about all this alien stuff, and the ascension, and all this what do they call it? The rapture, where all your spirit is supposed to fly out of your body, and they got all this thing. These alien ships are all closing in on Earth, and all this crap, and that they're coming to destroy evil, and they're going to pull you out of your body, and you're going to have this rapture, and you're going to ascend into these spaceships or whatever, into new bodies of light, and all of this. So, but all of this stuff is just flooding into my brain. I'm not seeing all this information on TV or anything. These thoughts are just coming to me, so I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. Well, then weird stuff started happening. Now, this is all within a 2 or 3 week period, but I mean, real physical stuff started happening around in my house and stuff. And then they got these videos that say you can develop telekinesis, and you can move stuff with your mind, and you can communicate with people with your mind, psychokinesis, telekinesis. You can catch stuff on fire, and pyrokinesis, and all this stuff, right? So I'm like, at first I'm like, wow, this is really weird. But what I didn't know at the time, when I started thinking about all this stuff, what happened when that pop happened in my head is my pineal gland turned all the way back on. And all the stuff I experienced as a kid, see, I was born like that. Now, I don't know if everybody's like that, but I was born like that. And, because somebody was trying to say that this pineal gland is the mark of the beast. And I don't agree with that. Because if your spirit is right, I fully believe that this is how the prophets communicated with God. This is how they got their information to write the Bible. So, I mean, besides people that witness things, but they talk about visions, and they seen it in their eye and all this stuff. So, but it can be used for darkness, and these dark forces is what it is. They use this to possess you, and they use in this lie, this new age religion lie to get people away from God, because it tells you right in the Bible that, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you should fear no evil, as long as your faith is strong in God and Jesus. That you should fear these demons, because they can have no hold over you. It tells you in Revelations that he will seal the foreheads of all of his chosen, of the elect, or whatever. Like I said, I don't have the Bible memorized, but I've read these things and I know they're in there. So I don't believe that it's the third eye. But when I found that information out, that really helped me get some clarity and get back on the righteous path. When I heard that, that's what really made me freak out. So anyway, let me get back to this. So I start seeing all this weird stuff starts happening, okay? I was in the shower, the water turned off by itself. I've seen, stuff like, I got these spoons hanging in my kitchen. They're flying, floating back and forth by themselves for like 10 minutes, wouldn't stop moving. I'm getting goosebumps all the time, and I'm not talking about getting a chill. I'm talking about goosebumps for hours. I can feel these spirits. I could feel them moving around. I could feel them moving through me. I've seen focused, concentrated beams of light on the wall moving around. Not no floating orb or nothing, but like somebody had a high-powered, concentrated flashlight to get my attention. And it came from nowhere. There's nobody in my house. There's no windows or shades open or nothing. This light came out of nowhere. And I turned my regular flashlight, LED, high-powered flashlight on, and it would not make a beam this concentrated. It wouldn't focus that tight of a beam. And then I'm back having these weird dreams, and I'm waking up terrified in the middle of the night again. And I'm feeling sick all the time, and like I got the flu and my headache, and I just feel miserable, and I'm irritated by everything. Well, what it is these demons were possessing me, these spirits, and they're telling me these lies. They're filling my head with this story of this outer space nonsense that they're trying to get everybody to believe. So, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So all this weird stuff started happening. I've had water droplets fall on me out of nowhere, just in the house, just come out of nowhere and fall on me and drip down my arm. What else has happened? I've seen, oh my goodness, I've seen a lot. Cabinet doors just opening by themselves, weird sounds, you can feel them, this cold wind, like, I'm going to get to that in a minute because I think I upset them. So, I started researching more about this stuff, and they're saying that you can talk to these spirits, so I'm sitting there talking to these spirits in my head, but I'm telling them, I don't believe this stuff, this is crazy, I'm just freaking out, really. But, they can read your mind, and they can put thoughts into your head. So, I'm trying to cope with all this stuff. And at one point, me and my, because once I got home, I still had some property, but, these dope fiends, they broke in and stole all my furniture, everything, refrigerators, stoves, couches, everything, you name it. So I started staying out at my parents', and they stay in the country out of the city, so my parents are getting old, and I really realized that it's important to spend this time that I got with them after I got out of prison. I'm not really worried about money and all this mess anymore, so I've been staying out with my parents in the country. So my girlfriend is over, and we were messing around with this light glue or something. They got this glue that you use a UV light on, and it bonds the glue or something. So I'm messing with this thing, and I stand up and I drop this little UV flashlight on the floor, okay? And it disappeared. It disappeared. I got 2 witnesses. We never found the flashlight. I'm talking about my girlfriend. I'm trying to explain to her this stuff that's going on, and she believes in, her faith ain't strong, but she believes in God and the Bible and stuff. So, she's very superstitious about stuff like that too, and ghosts, and so she ain't trying to hear this stuff. So when this flashlight falls and we can't find it, she's freaking out. I mean, she literally moved every piece of furniture. She looked under rugs. She went through my shoes. I had some shoes sitting over. She went through all my shoes. She dismantled everything, and she would not stop. I mean, she's overlooking everything 3 and 4 times. I'm already saying in my head, I already know something happened. It's a portal or something. I don't exactly know how all this stuff works, but I'm figuring it out. It's like they open a porthole or something, and they can come through, and the more you meditate and pray to these demons, because that's what they are, don't get it twisted by no account, they are demons. You'll know if you got a Holy Spirit, if you got the Holy Spirit in your presence. These are demons. They are hurting you, they are corrupting you, they are feeding off of you like you're a snack or something. And they thrive off of negativity. And they put these negative thoughts into your head so that you create negative situations in your life. So she has dismantled the entire basement. There's nowhere for this flashlight to have gone. There's nowhere it could be hiding. It fell on the floor. Now it's gone. It disappeared. Well, she couldn't wrap her head around it. I already knew. So, and my father witnessed this as well. So this is one incident where I actually had a witness. So I know I'm not crazy. So, well, a little time went by. This is often like a little 2 or 3 week span before I really figured out the lowdown on what was going on. So all this weird stuff keeps happening, and I keep seeing and feeling these spirits, and they're floating around, and so they start telling me this story. They're putting these thoughts in my head, and they're telling me this whole story of the pyramids, and how these God's architects or whatever came down and built the pyramids, and they created all this technology for man, and how they love us, and they're the creators of earth, and it's all building into the Zachariah Sitchin story. Later I found out about the New Age religion, and this is how there's a cult that committed suicide called I didn't find this out till later, but it was called the Heaven's Gate. Now you can look them up on the internet, and they believed the same thing. They believed that these aliens were coming to save them, and that they had to kill themselves to free their spirit so they could be raptured into the afterlife, into ascension, or whatever they want to call it. And they actually committed suicide. And I got a video for that too in my little background thing. So, but this is the lie that these demons told them to get them to commit suicide, and they damned themselves. They murdered themselves and damned themselves to eternity. This is what these demons are up to, man. This stuff is crazy. I can't even believe I'm telling you this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe this stuff happened to me, and I'm telling you, I've never been a religious person. Never believed in religion. I've always kept my thoughts of God to myself unless somebody directly asked me my thoughts about God or religion or whatever. And I've always told them I believe in that Bible. I believe in them 10 Commandments. I never read it as much as I should have, but I always believed, and I always prayed to God, and He kept me safe, and He kept me alive, and I have walked through the valley of the shadow of death, and I am still here to tell my story. So So I made a promise, and that's what I'm doing. I'm telling you my story right now. You can take it for what it's worth. You can think I'm a nut, or you can believe it, or you don't. I don't care. I'm telling my whole life story. I'm giving my testimony. This is what I'm doing. So, oh my goodness. Hold on. So they're pumping me up full of these lies, right? This story of this rapture and all this crap, right? So the whole time, I believe in free energy. I don't like the way the government is doing things and the way they're keeping our all this technology from us, because there's so many free energy sources out there. So this whole time I'm researching all this new free energy technology, and I know that the pyramids were a power plant. So they start putting all these thoughts in my head. They're telling me how to create this 0 point energy technology, which comes to find out later might open some kind of vortex porthole or something. I'm not really too sure, but I kind of quit, kind of lost interest in it after I found out the truth about this whole madness. So I never did actually start building anything, but I do have some ideas, but I don't know. So after so they're telling me all these lies, and now I still believe in God, and they got a real convincing story about how God created all of these different species, and that these certain civilizations are God's people, and that there's all these aliens, and there's evil aliens, there's these aliens, there's these reptilians, there's all this crap, so I'm thinking, yeah, this is cool at first. Like, wow, this they're giving me information, hidden secrets, because I've been searching for knowledge. So, and they're telling me, all this stuff, and I still got a belief in God, but my faith now is corrupted because of these lies. And I'm starting to believe these lies with all this alien stuff and all these civilizations, and I'm like, yeah, well, God created us. Why couldn't he have created people, and they got everybody believing the earth is round and there's all these planets and crap. Wrong. But so oh boy, this stuff is crazy. So one night I'm sitting here. I got kind of like my own apartment at my parents' house, basically, like the whole basement. It's all finished with a kitchen and everything. So I got my own apartment. I got my girlfriend with me, and we're sitting there, and I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend, and at the same time, these demons are putting all these thoughts in my head. They're telling me about this pyramid thing, and how the ascension is coming, and how they're waiting, and you need to astral project and leave your body and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there like, no, I don't. I'm telling them in my head, no, I'm not doing this. I can't leave my parents. They need me. They're old. I can't do this. They're not going to believe this. So they're telling me, well, you need to tell them. You need to tell your parents. You need to get them to believe this story. And I'm fighting. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. But I'm saying all this stuff to these demons in my head. And I'm talking to my girlfriend. And then all of a sudden, I start uncontrollably shaking. Like I was having a seizure. I mean, I was in the chair just shaking. My legs are shaking. My arms are shaking. But I didn't lose consciousness or anything like that. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel like I'm having a heart attack or a stroke or anything. You know what I mean? I had complete clarity of mind. And I'm shaking and I'm shaking and I'm shaking, and I can't stop, and I'm breathing. I'm trying to like relax and meditate, and I'm like, like what? My girlfriend starts freaking out. She's wrong. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I said, I don't know. I can't stop shaking. So she freaks out and runs upstairs and gets my dad. And my dad comes down, and I'm still shaking, and he's like, you could see the look of concern on his face. It was just it made me want to cry when I seen his face. He had this deep look of concern. What's wrong? He wants to call the paramedics. Oh, I'm gonna call 911. And I told him, no, don't call 911. Don't call 911. I'm fine. I'm fine. But I couldn't stop shaking, man. And I'm talking about I was shaking so bad that, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't do nothing. So they're telling me in my head, they're like, you need to tell him. You need to tell him. So I'm like, all right. So I'll tell him. So I went upstairs and I talked to both my parents, and I told them this whack Zachariah Sitchin story, and I told them all the stuff that was going on about this DNA activation and these frequencies and all this stuff, and how I'm seeing these spirits and they're giving me knowledge and all this crap, right? I stopped shaking it instantly. It stopped. It passed instantly. They're like, what is going on? I just blew their mind with this whole story. And I ran this elaborate story down that they've been telling me in like 10 minutes. I was talking 1,000 miles an hour. And all of this madness stopped. It ceased. So now I'm really like, this stuff is really getting to me now, these lies. But see, I opened up my mind, and my faith was weakened, and my mind was born open. I didn't know that. I didn't know none of this stuff up until this past year. So I started piecing all the puzzle of my life and all the weird things that's happened to me in my life together, and it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. And these suicide cults and all this stuff, this is what they did. They opened their mind. They opened their temple, the temple of God, the temple we were born with. They opened it to the darkness and let them in. And they started believing them lies. But see, I got better judgment than that. I got better judgment than that. Leave your body, commit suicide. Yeah, right. If I was going to commit suicide, I would have did it a long time ago. Oh, and that makes me think that brings up a whole nother story, because I've tried to do that before too, and it didn't work. That's a story for another day. Anyway, so I tell my parents this story. So now, then all these symptoms went away. So now I'm really believing, I'm really starting to believe this crap. And then, all right, one night, but I'm still skeptical. So I'm researching, and then, now all this stuff is tying back to the Bible. So I'm really back in the Bible, and I'm really researching heavy about, all these ancient practices and all this stuff. And I'm back researching all these ancient civilizations, and trying to find out about 0 point energy and all this other stuff. So one night I'm up doing some stuff, and these spirits start talking to me again, and I'm like, I'm sitting there in my head, and I'm like, how do I know that this is somebody else? You know what I mean? This is not me thinking these things. It's hard, it's confusing, because you just think you're thinking this stuff, but you're really not. So I started questioning these spirits, these demons, and they're telling me, oh, you can communicate telepathically with other people, and you can do all this stuff. Yeah, you can, if you harness the forces of darkness, because these spirits will read somebody's mind and they'll come tell you what they're thinking. This shit is great. So my girlfriend is sleeping, and I'm sitting in the chair. So I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, right, this is crazy. So I'm steady, like talking to her in my mind. I'm telling her that I love her, and I'm telling her all this stuff, right, in my mind. And I'm like, yeah, this stuff, I'm like, this stuff is not true. It doesn't work. So I start thinking in my head. I'm like, all right, and she keeps tossing and turning and flopping around, but she's not waking up. And like, she would start to wake up, and I would think to myself, just sleep, go back to sleep, go back to sleep. And she would roll over and go back to sleep. And I'm like, man, what? This is not happening. This cannot be real. So I started thinking, I'm like, all right, she rolled over on her back and she's laying there. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if this is real, touch yourself, stick your hand in your pants. And I swear on everything, she slid her hand into her pants and touched herself, and I lost it. I came unglued. Now, I told you I was back researching God. I was back, researching the Bible. I was back doing all these things because I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on, right? So when I seen that, I lost it. And I'm in my head. I'm like, no. And this is all in my head. I'm not saying these things out loud. I'm like, no. This is wrong. This is the work of the devil. This is not me doing this. This is you. This is this spirit. I rebuke you, demon. I said, I rebuke you. I rebuke you in the name of God, in the name of the creator of heaven and earth, the most high, the name of Jesus, the name of the Holy Spirit. I'm saying all this in my head. I just keep repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. I said, be gone, demon, be gone. I swear, my girlfriend sat straight up in her sleep, opened her eyes, looked dead at me in my face, and said, we're not all demons. And she turned around and went right back to sleep. And she had no memory of this. And later on, after I figured out what was going on, I tried to tell her this stuff and explain it to her, but I don't know if she believes me or not. She believes she's got some faith in God and Jesus and all this stuff, but she is easily manipulated because of the trauma that she has suffered in her life. Her faith is not strong enough, and she is easily manipulated. And that's another thing that made me realize, because she used to freak out back in the day when we was younger. I've known her for a long time, and she used to freak out back in the day when we was younger, and everybody can tell you she wouldn't be there. She would be gone. They used to say she was bipolar and all this stuff. No, what it is that trauma opens you up, and when something bad happens and you're upset, these demons linger. They linger around, and they pick their shots. They look for their opportunities. And when she was weak, they would take over, and madness would ensue. That's a story for another day as well. So I started rebuking, and she went back to sleep or whatever. And then after that, I had it. I really started getting back into God and studying the Bible and reading these things. But these demons are on me now. They're on me. You know what I'm saying? Now it's a spiritual warfare. This stuff is so crazy. I can't even believe I'm saying it. So now it's spiritual warfare. There's no other explanation for this at this point. I am a firm believer. There's nothing. You couldn't tear this thought out of me. You couldn't tear this belief out of me. You can't murder this belief out of me. I know it's real. I know it's the truth. I know. So then I started researching possessions and all this stuff. And they say you gotta be strong in your faith, and you gotta believe in God and all this. So the next day I woke up, and I could feel this pressure in my head. I could feel this evil on me, and everything's irritating me. I'm snapping. There's simple questions. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. What do you want? You know what I'm saying? I'm freaking out. And I woke up and I said, God, please get this demon off of me. In the name of Jesus, get this demon off of me. And snap, just like that, I could feel this pressure disappear off of my head. And I could feel the irritability went away, and everything went away, and I felt good again, But I had been rebuking these spirits by myself all night, tormenting me in my sleep. Oh, and speaking of in my sleep, because I want to get to this too. But before any of this stuff happened, one night I went to sleep and I woke up early in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. I felt that terror into me, and I woke up because see, this is what I'm saying, man. When you channel these demons, when you open up your mind for this darkness and you channel these demons, they come, and the more that you channel and you start believing that these ancient gods were these aliens or whatever they want to call them were real and stuff. You actually channel these spirits, and some of them are stronger than others. So one night I actually seen, like you've been seeing on these shows and all this shadow people. I seen one. They were telling me, oh, you need to look outside and all this crazy, they're telling me that their ships are pulling out. You need to start watching the skies for their ships and all this stuff. And they've been having all these UFO sightings lately, and all this stuff ties right into it. So I went to the back door and I'm looking outside up at the stars, and I got that creepy feeling, them goosebumps start rolling all over me. And I turned around and walked back down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs was the shadow. And I didn't tremble, I didn't do nothing. I walked straight down the stairs and looked dead at him, and I walked right past and went and sat down, and he disappeared. Because you can't fear these demons. Then another time when I woke up, like I was saying, I woke up and I had this terrible feeling. Because see, I still had that faith of God in the back of my head, and I know not to fear. But even though I was on the line, he couldn't harm me because he knew I wasn't 100%. I wasn't 100%, you see. I still had the faith of God in me. So I woke up early and I was traumatized, man. And it's like the more you pray to these things, or you believe in them, you don't even have to pray to them. You just believe in them. Because I'm still praying to God, but I'm believing in this mess. So I had this trauma, this feeling, and I'm terrified. And I woke up and it's like 4:35 in the morning, and I heard like this beeping sound. Like a beep beep, like a two-way radio or something, you know what I mean? And it was like I could hear voices talking, and I'm by myself, there's nobody, I'm all alone. And I was kind of frozen, and I snapped out of it. And as I snapped out of my paralysis, I sat straight up, and I seen this bright flash of light. This white bluish light lit the whole room up like a camera flash, right as I was sitting up and snapped out of this paralysis, and everything was silent. I couldn't feel nothing no more. I felt normal. There was nothing around me. It's like they open a porthole. I told you about that flashlight disappearing. It's like you channel them. It's like they come through these portholes, these dimensions. I don't know what it is. I don't got it all figured out, but I tell you this, you better believe. You better believe, because bad things are coming. I'm trying to tell you. So now after this whole mess with my girlfriend or whatever, and after that I got deep back into praying. And then I was researching stuff about this pineal gland, and this stuff's getting out of hand, and it's just this pressure on me, and I feel like garbage every day. And it's like I don't laugh anymore, and I'm crying, I'm all emotional, I'm a wreck. And I seen this thing, man, about this dude talking about the pineal gland, or the third eye, was the mark of the beast. I crumbled to pieces. It shattered me, When I seen that, it shot, oh my goodness, it shot ice through my veins, like that roller coaster feeling, like when you lose your stomach, Like my stomach fell out of my body. I was like, no way. What have I done, God? What have I done? I literally fell to my knees by myself, home alone. I fell to my knees and put my hands together, and I prayed, and I begged, and I cried for forgiveness. Father, I do not know what I'm doing. Please, you know throughout my whole life I have never lost my faith in you, God. Please, these demons have lied. They have lied to me. They are corrupting my spirit. Please, God, help me. You know I would never intentionally worship the dark Lord or his minions or his lies. And I repented like I've never repented in my life. I bawled like a baby because at that moment I knew how serious this was, and I knew how great the power of God is, and I knew that there are forces in this world that we do not understand and that are not to be toyed with. You gotta listen, people. I don't care if you listen or not. I know, but I made a promise to tell my story, and that's what I'm doing. Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. After this, after I repented, I got deep back into my faith. These demons delivered me right back to God. I don't know. I just don't know. But I do know that this stuff is real, let me tell you. People need to wake up. Bad things are coming. So now, after all this, and I repented. Man, did I repent. I beg for forgiveness for every little wrongdoing I ever had. And I've really been back in that Bible now. I've been studying. I've been learning. And I'm not going to stop. And I'm going to tell my story. This isn't the end of my testimony. I'm going to keep telling my story. I'll be a nut. I don't care. I'll be an outcast. I don't care. I never really cared what anybody thought about me anyway, ever. When I dang, I'm sure not about to start now. I'm fulfilling my promise, God. And when I say God, I mean the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. And when I pray, that's who I pray to every time. So there is no discrepancy. Don't just pray to God. You better pray to the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth. Yahshua, Yahushua, whatever. You know, there's so many names. Elohim. I don't know who it is. So I just say, hey, the creator of heaven and earth. There is no discrepancy because there is only one. My true judge. My God. The creator of heaven and earth. So, you know, man has handed down the Bible for thousands of years. It's been manipulated by religions. All this stuff to serve their power, to serve their needs, you know. Christianity, you can have it because I was raised a Roman Catholic. And let me tell you something. The Roman Catholic Church is responsible for more death than smallpox, for more death than the Holocaust. They've been murdering people in the name of God forever. So you could have all your religions. All I need is my book. And even if you take that, or even if it's lies in there and it's been manipulated to fit your little greedy religious power purposes, you could never strip me of my faith. Never. Now, that also brings me to some thoughts about there's this discrepancy in the Bible about Jesus being crucified on the cross or Jesus being crucified on the tree, because it says both in the Bible. It says a tree. I got a bunch of verses, but I think I'm gonna make a separate video about that. So, because I don't know, they're saying that the Christian depiction of Jesus is a blasphemy, that the cross, the depiction of Jesus on the cross and all these people it's a lie created by the Roman Catholic Church, that they manipulated the Bible to get people to worship a cross. And the cross is a graven image. It's a blasphemy to God. It's a depiction of Jesus' death. And everybody's running around worshiping it, thinking that they're doing the right thing, when in all actuality, they're serving a greater purpose for the darkness. But I think I'm gonna make a separate video about that. This one's really getting kind of long. But I think I'm gonna wrap it up. So before I go, I want to read this verse, because I've been praying to God for knowledge, and He's been giving it to me. But you gotta look. You gotta take the initiative to research and do things, and you keep asking the Most High God, Creator of heaven and earth, for the truth, and you will find it. So I just opened my Bible the other day, and I said a prayer before I did, and I asked for knowledge. And I kept telling God, I'm going to fulfill my promise. I'm going to fulfill my promise. I'm going to tell my story no matter what. As long as I have breath in my lungs, I will tell the story. So I'm going to close with this. Acts chapter 2, verse 17 through 20 something, I don't know. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in the heaven above, and the signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and notable day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whoever so shall call on the name of the Lord Jesus, on the name of the Lord, shall be saved. Acts 17 through 21. The truth is my sword, and God is my judge. Oh, before I go, I almost forgot. I do these videos, I hit record and I start talking. So, I don't write nothing down. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I forget where I left off or whatever. So, after I repented, and I mean I truly repented, all of this madness stopped. All of this stuff moving, lights, stuff disappearing, all of this all of this madness stopped. And and now I can feel a spirit with me all the time. I can see him. I can see him moving around. But it's a righteous spirit. The Spirit of God. People, get your spirit right. Cleanse your soul. Purge yourself. Remove the darkness from your homes before it's too late.